Okay, on to my next segment now. This is a very interesting talking point. I'm joined by TV and radio psychologist Hony Langcaster-James, and in association with research being commissioned by Free, we are talking about technology addiction. I just want to say thanks for taking time out to talk to me today, Hony. Welcome to the syndicated show.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, wonderful. I've got my questions here ready to ask you. And addiction, there's different types of addiction. We've got addiction to coffee, to your TV soaps, to smoking, to bingo as well, kind of gambling. But technology, that is quite high up there, technology addiction. Is there a new specific word for this kind of new addiction at the moment?
Well, I think really, I think addiction is slightly unhelpful actually when you think about our relationships with our technologies, because it sort of suggests that it's an entirely negative thing. But of course, one of the things that we've learned, and this year more than ever before, is the fact that actually our technology can be a very, very positive thing, and it can actually give us a lifeline. One of the things that I've been looking at recently has been this research that's been done by Free, looking at people's mobile phone behaviours over the year, and they obviously have a lot of interesting data about how people are using their phones, but also they did a wide-scale survey of 2,000 people, and what they found is that actually our mobile phones in this pandemic, for example, have been absolute lifelines, and they have helped to keep people connected. A quarter of all Brits said that they have actually contacted their friends and family even more this year than ever before, thanks to their mobile phones. And I think that's something we need to think about, that really these are means to an end. They are means to connect us with one another, which is vital for our emotional and psychological health. And it is also important for our physical health as well, because having access to a social support network and believing that you have access to your social support network is actually a key component to physical health. So it improves your immune system if you think that you've got access to a good social support network, and it also improves recovery time if you end up ill, or if you're suffering with something. So it really, really is vital. And I think that's something to take away here, is that we're used to talking about mobile phones in terms of the negative side of it, but actually there are huge positive benefits to having one as well, especially if you're video calling your family or you're taking part in a virtual quiz or whatever it is that you're doing with your mobile phone.
Right. Thank you very much for that. We've got the disadvantages, and there seems to be more advantages these days as opposed to the other side, the negatives. We will touch on both. As you say, the mobile phone is our best companion. It's always in our pocket. It knows everything. It kind of knows everything about you, and I suppose it's our next port of call, isn't it?
Well, I think it's more than that as well. I mean, nowadays with smartphones, of course, your mobile phone isn't just a way to connect with other people. It does so much more for you. I, for one, use my mobile phone for health benefits, and lots of people do. That came out of Three's research, actually. 37% of all Brits use their phones to count their steps and manage their health. I do that as well. I have Noom app on my phone. It helps me to stay trim and get my exercise and manage my diet and things like that. Lots of people use their mobile phones for dating as well. 88.2 million messages were sent on dating apps every week. That's an insane amount of dating that's going on thanks to mobile phones. So that's a good thing. People are still investing in their love life. And then, of course, people are taking part in kind of group calls as well. 10.9 million Brits were found to have taken part in at least one virtual quiz. So there are so many other things you can do. And this speaks to me personally as well. I've got an elderly father. He's going to be 80 in January. And at the start of all of this, he really didn't like technology. He didn't want to know. But because of us having sort of physical distance from one another and him self-isolating, I encouraged him to get a smartphone. And now we regularly have video calls calls, and he does his own online grocery shopping on an app on his phone, and he's doing his Christmas shopping from his phone as well as accessing his online banking as well. So, even at this ripe old age, he has seen the benefits of technology for helping him to do so much more in his everyday life. And that's what I think is key.
So you reeled off a string of advantages there of having technology, a device, electronic device, mobile phone or smart tablet. Got a few more advantages here for phone uses, reading the news, using WhatsApp.
Yeah.
YouTube videos, even people are spring cleaning the phone itself, which is good to know. And
yeah, YouTube videos. I mean, I would have been lost without those a few times during this time when we've had to do things like we have to order a new bit of furniture and you want to put that together, so you can go on YouTube and watch a how-to video, or you can do things like that for sure. That's very good. And also, of course, having access to things like if you've got catch-up channels on your phone, you can actually do a Zoom call with somebody and watch a film with them and things like that by sharing your screen. That's all been a great thing to do as well.
Yeah. So positivity, really. That's very positive, encouraging to hear this. I do have to touch on the kind of other side. Like sometimes too much of anything is a bad thing, as they say. The mental impact of being connected. When you got on your device, it says your screen time is 4 hours, 5 hours, even 6 hours. Do you know what the kind of recommended usage of using an electronic device, mobile phone, tablet is?
Well, no, because there isn't one size fits all. So one of the problems with that is it depends what you're doing. So, for example, my mobile phone will show an awful lot of screen time, but that is because I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home. So therefore, I spend a lot of my time on Zoom meetings and video calls during the day. I already did that before the pandemic because I see a lot of my clients via virtual calls. So there's that. But then it will also show other things, like I might be doing my banking, I might be doing my health app, I might be doing some online shopping. So it depends what you're doing. Obviously, if you're just sort of mindlessly scrolling on social media for hours on end, that probably isn't going to be as good for you. Unless, of course, you are one of the many people who have been in social isolation, in which case your social media networks and your online communities might actually be very important for your mental health. And a lot of people I've spoken to, particularly in the over 55s category, I think are really finding the benefits of staying connected on social media and things, because if they didn't, they would really be spending a lot of time in isolation, and that's what we need to think about.
Yeah, so you mentioned reading the news there and the over 55s. Very good way of reading the news for the over 55s. It doesn't mean they have to go to the shops, especially in the cold as well. Price of a paper is quite high, if I do add myself as well. So reading the news on your device does kind of like, just save a few of the pennies, so to speak, in buying a paper.
Yeah, well, not only that as well, but it also means you can do it in a contained way. So, for example, some studies have shown that if you just have news streaming 24 hours, like some open plan offices do and things like that, that might actually not be very good for your mental health, because too much viewing of negative news, and it's often negative news, not positive news that we see, can actually affect your mood, and it can affect your outlook on the world. So really limiting your news consumption to maybe I do this. I pick up my phone in the morning, I check the headlines, and then I look at it again later on in the day. I don't sit and just monitor it constantly. And that is a helpful way for me to keep up with what's going on in the world, but not to obsess over it and constantly ruminate on it.
Okay. I need to ask, when you wake up in the morning, you turn your phone on and it goes kind of mad. You got all those notifications coming on, and you don't know where to start, do you? Reply to that person, check that message. What can you do just to alleviate that trigger in anxiety when you wake up in the morning, you first turn your phone on, and you have all these kind of notifications coming up at you?
Well, I think that's very different for different people. I personally quite like using my phone. I'll put my phone on a kind of do not disturb function for a while, then I'll turn it on and check my messages, and then I'll leave it and come back again. I think some people, if they do feel a bit anxious and they get those messages straight away, then really it's about putting in structure to your day. So, for example, it might be that for you personally, you want to get up and do something else, have a cup of tea or go for a walk or something before you check your messages, and you can do that. And so I'm a big fan of using different apps to control things like that. There are some apps, for example, where you could decide to check your email at the time you want to check it. You don't have to have constantly streaming notifications coming up. That's a personal choice. And that's what I think mobile phones do nowadays, smartphones in particular. They enable you to make the settings work for you, and to do what you find helpful. I quite like having messages pop up during the day when I'm at work, but then I might turn it off for a while when I'm relaxing or I'm spending time with family. And I like the fact that I can control that.
Sure. And you mentioned dating as well. We've seen more people interacting with each other. People under 30 as well say they would feel helpless without their mobile phone. 29% said they'd be unable to cope. So what are your thoughts on virtual dating, and is it possible to get to know a person over, like, say like a dating network or site?
Well, it absolutely is. I mean, it is absolutely possible to get to know somebody quite well and quite intimately, particularly over video call, I think. I mean, I do this a lot with my clients. We do a lot of sessions, assessments and all sorts via telephone or via virtual consultations. I mean, you now can meet with your doctor, you can meet with your psychologist, you can meet with your therapist, all sorts of different ways virtually. And why not meet your date that way? And I personally think, it's a safe way of dating as well at the moment. Obviously, at the moment, we're limiting the physical contact we have with people. So instead of perhaps going straight to a drink in the pub or a coffee or whatever, why not have a virtual meeting first of all, and a video chat or something like that to get to know one another before you maybe decide. You could use it as a sort of first sifting process for your dates, couldn't you? Before you actually meet up in person. And I think it's also a good way of sort of bringing people into your life as well. So I do this with family and friends. I'll sometimes put someone on a video call while I'm doing other things, like while I'm cooking the dinner or while I'm doing something in the garden, and you can show people around a bit and you can say, oh, I'm just in my kitchen or I'm just in my garden. And it's quite nice actually to get to know each other that way, rather than it being a very formal way over dinner or over a drink or something. And for some people, of course, it can also reduce nerves. And you don't have to worry about being stood up either.
Some good points there, Hony. And we've mentioned dating. I think I've got here for this research, increased use has helped relationships by 30%.
Well, I think because people have been using them, so 36% of people said that they relied on their phones completely to maintain their social life during these difficult times of the pandemic. And that's where I think they have really become a sort of essential services. Really, if you have been sent home to self-isolate, or if you live alone and you've not been able to meet with other people, really, without a mobile phone, you would be completely cut off. Okay, you might be able to email people, but it's not the same. And I think video calling has really taken on new importance. Zoom meetings for anyone who's working from home, those have become very much a part of everyday working life. WhatsApp calling, WhatsApp video, voice notes, all of those things have been great ways to stay connected with the people that you care about. And that is so vital for reducing loneliness, for improving mental health, and for making sure that we feel that we have access to our nearest and dearest, even if we can't physically hug them.
It seems there's many positives to technology, and when I've been scrolling on social media, I've come across a term called FOMO, which means fear of missing out. Where does this kind of arise from, and is there a way of kind of like remedying this?
I don't know if that's necessarily relevant to kind of mobile phone use, because I think that's to do with anything really that we have this kind of fear of missing out when we think we should be grabbing some opportunity that other people are getting, and that's a kind of standard social phenomena that we have. I suppose we do experience that sometimes when we see advertising for things. We think, oh, what am I missing out on there? But I think obviously what we're talking about today is about how technology can help us with those things. So, for example, I use all my apps for purchasing things. If I see a good deal pop up, I can do that from anywhere, whether I'm out and about on a walk or whether I'm at home. So I think it is about really fully utilizing technology. And as we go forwards, I think this would have happened anyway. 2 or 3 years down the line, we would be living much more virtually, connecting more online, doing less travel. I think people are concerned about the environment and about unnecessary travel for meetings and things like that. And I think technology has come into its own just a little bit quicker because of this pandemic. And I'm all for that. And I think let's particularly encourage our older generations and make sure that they're not missing out, making sure that they're not missing out on connecting with one another and connecting with us. Because I've heard a lot of people say, grandparents, for example, who've not been able to see their new grandchild yet or something like that, and video calling might be the next best thing at the moment.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today on the Dannison Syndicated Show. A media psychologist, Hony Langcaster-James, talking about the research commissioned by Free and the benefits of technology, mobile phones, gadgets and smart devices as well. It's been very interesting talking to you today.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Wonderful. All the best and Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.